أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope all of you and your family members will be doing fine and enjoying good health. First of all, I would remind all of you again, especially those who haven't sent me the topics for their research assignment yet. You are advised to send me the topic for your assignment as soon as possible, and as I have mentioned a couple of times before that your final term exams are about to start, so all of you are supposed to preparing well for your examination, and I hope all of you would be doing their best to prepare well for your final term examination. So in our today's lecture, we will continue with our previous discussion, which was about the history of US public diplomacy, and in the last lecture we tried to focus on the early phase of the US public diplomacy, which started with the uh, start of 20th century, and we discuss that even before the start of 20th century, the informal people to people communication was there, and that's how the Americans exist in even before the 20th century in the hemisphere of public diplomacy. So in our today's lecture, we will continue with the history of US public diplomacy, and today we will talk about the First World War, and what steps were taken by the American leadership and the policymakers to get the support of the domestic as well as the international audience, and what steps were taken to justify their involvement in the First World War. So, without wasting further time, we will start our today's discussion, and we will talk about the First World War and the Committee on Public Information, which was created with the executive order by Woodrow Wilson in immediately after entering the First World War in April 1917. So this Committee on Public Information was created with multi-purpose, and one of the key objective behind the establishment of this Committee on Public Information was to gather public support for the war, and to get decent approval in terms of legitimacy of the US action to enter the First World War, though that was not mandatory for the US, but in order to uh, get the legitimacy, in order to make their actions legitimate, the opinion of the public from domestic as well as the international sphere carries some value. So this Committee on Public Information was created with the very objective to get the public support for the US involvement in the First World War. But on the other hand, the foreign section was also established. It has, we can say that it has a foreign element too, as various offices have been established in foreign countries to counter the propaganda of Germany, which was the main opponent in the First World War. So, in order to counter the propaganda launched by Germany at that time, the foreign offices were established in 9 overseas countries to deal with the German propaganda. So that was the key objective. That were some of the main objectives behind the creation of the Committee on Public Information immediately after the First World War. And I mean, when the Americans got entered into the First World War, and it was entirely separate from the State Department. The State Department, which is in charge of the affairs of the foreign policy and diplomacy, beside other areas, the this Committee on Public Information was entirely separate from the State Department. So that's how the Committee on Public Information was one of the key development launched by the Americans policymaker and leadership to um, project their public diplomacy in the international community. And also, like, it tried to utilize that to get the public support from the domestic audience as well, because as we have earlier mentioned that public diplomacy is not just aimed at to target the foreign audience, but it also addressed to the domestic audience as well. So uh, support from both the domestic and international audience was especially support from the domestic audience was very much significant for the United States to enter the First World War, and that was something which was intended behind the establishment of the Public Committee on Public Information at that time. Okay, now we will talk about the how this committee functioned and who were kept in charge of the functioning of this Committee on Public Information. So here, as we can see that the Committee on Public Information was headed by George Creel, who was the editor of the Rocky Mountain News at that time. And the news papers at that time were the key tools or instruments to propagate or to um, transmit the ideas of the public, I mean the culture and the system of the values of a country to the overseas audience. So keeping that aspect in mind, George Creel, who was the editor of the Rocky Mountain News at that time, was put in charge of the CPI, the Committee on Public Information. And the news articles, movies, lectures, posters, signboards, wireless cable service, foreign press bureaus, film division, leaflet filled balloons, all these elements, all these instruments were utilized by this very Committee on Public Information to propagate the US culture and values, and to get the support from the um, both from the domestic and the international audience. Here in this picture we can see that uh, the American flags and forces like waging like getting operational in the battlefields. So through media and through posters and lectures and movies, the American superiority and the superiority of American values and systems have been propagated throughout the world. So now we will get deeper into the functioning of this Committee on Public Information, and various divisions were established in order to manage the affairs of this Public Information Committee in a pragmatic and an efficient way. So there were different divisions that were established under this Committee on Public Information, and now we will talk about those divisions one by one. First we can look at the news division. The official bulletin, first it was an 8 pages paper, and with positive news and speeches about the US, distributed to all US newspapers, post offices, government offices, and military bases. So the official bulletin with having positive content was distributed to all the US dailies and the official offices such as the post office, the military bases, and other government offices, to keep on spreading the information about the developments of war, and to influence the positive opinion, to or to gather the positive support from the domestic and the international public. It was not This official bulletin was not just limited to the domestic sphere of politics. Rather, the foreign press bureaus under novelist Ernest Pohl created longer features on US law, culture, and society by authors like Ida Tarbell and Booth Tarkington. So the foreign press bureaus were also involved with this sharing of information, and this official bulletin was also transmitted to the international bureau and that created the novelist features on the law of the US, the culture and society, and the various authors contributed immensely in that by writing about the culture and society of the United States of America. And this propagation of culture and society and values of the US, it was not just limited to the official bulletin instruments to transmit those ideas to the domestic and international audience. Rather, the a field division was also created because it is another source of transmitting information and culture and values. So the three featured length films were first created and then released in 1918, such as Pershing's Crusaders, America's Answer to the Hun, Under Four Flags. So these were the three feature length films depicting the superiority of the US values and cultures and their warlike features in order to get support for their involvement in the First World War. Another division was created for pictorial publicity, in which the posters were made and shared with the public. And in these pictures, we can see that these posters also played a significant role in transmitting the information and transmission of values and cultures through uh, through pictures or through posters. Other activities involved were the cooperation with the military to undermine enemy morale. So uh, the military was also taken on board in terms of having cooperation to undermine the morale of the enemy. And for that, leaflet-filled balloons over enemy territory were sent, and and the information was gathered into hostile territories through the offices in Holland, Denmark, Switzerland, and other countries. And in order to get ideas about the opinion of the public regarding the involvement in the war, particularly was gathered through the draft estimates, which were conducted through surveys. So these were the various divisions which were established under the Committee on Public Information to properly manage the working of this very Committee on Public Information at that time by the Americans. Now we will have a look at the criticism which was made at the Committee on Public Information at home, and So, first of all, this whole process involves this psychological warfare and propaganda as well. So, Creel, who was put in charge of the Committee on the Public Affairs, said no, and instead an honest attempt to counter the German disinformation. He, regarding the allegations which were made at CPI at home about like whether it's a psychological warfare or a propaganda which is being launched through the Committee on Public Affairs, Public Information. He, Creel, who was in charge of that committee, he responded to those questions with no, and made a statement that it is in fact an honest attempt to counter the German propaganda or the German disinformation. So this the establishment of this very committee, here we can see that is dispensed with the sole responsibility to counter the German propaganda or disinformation as well. And the eventually the CPI ended domestic work with the armistice in November 1918, and Congress ended funding for the foreign operations in June 1919. So the outcome of the criticism or was bit negative, as the domestic work with armistice was ended in November 1918, and eventually Congress stopped giving funds to the CPI for foreign operation in June 1919. And eventually and finally this CPI was abolished by Woodrow Wilson in August 1919. And the outcome was that no formal United States government public diplomacy operations or offices were established for another 18 years. So after that experiment, almost for almost 2 decades, no such formal US government public diplomacy channels were established by the Americans. So that is all about our today's part of the history of the US public diplomacy, and I hope you would have understood most of the ideas which have been discussed today in our today's discussion. And still, if you have any queries, please feel free to write your questions to me through our WhatsApp group, and I would be happy to answer your queries. And finally, I would again remind all of you to keep preparing for your examination, as they are about to begin, and keep working on your research assignments as well, because the deadline would be probably by the end of your final term exams. So wish you all the best, and stay safe and healthy, and take good care of your families. See you next week for our upcoming lectures. Until then, Allah Hafiz.